The Indianapolis Colts take on the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. But what about 2023? Is Matt Ryan back? Is Jeff Saturday back? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Huddle podcast presented by Fan Nation on SI.com. My name is Andrew Moore, and I'm joined here by my co-host and colleague at Horseshoe Huddle, Drake Wally. How you doing, man? The bye week is over. The Colts are back in business, and we've got a game coming up on Saturday this week, not Sunday, Saturday. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. It was nice to get away, nice to just kind of watch football and not have to stress about anything. But hopefully, we don't get our Saturdays ruined. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be better than people are expecting.
Yeah, I think we all needed a weekend just to kind of get away from Colts football. The players certainly needed a little bit of a break after 13 really long weeks. So I think it was good for everybody, and now everybody's ready for the final four games in the stretch run here, and then we move right into the 2023 off season. So but first, everyone, please, if you've been enjoying our shows, if you enjoy our work, go ahead and give us a follow. Go ahead and follow Horseshoe Huddle on Twitter at Colts on FN. There we go. Go ahead and like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, and go ahead and subscribe on YouTube here. Hit the bell so you know when Drake and I are going live every time there's a new video. And we're going to get started. Stats Matt, good to see you, buddy. He says, gonna go ahead and say this because usually offense is first. If Ryan looks as bad this week as he did last, bench him. LOL. Minnesota is the worst pass defense in the league. Yes, it is. And we're actually not going to start by talking about that game. We're going to talk a little bit about Matt Ryan. Surprise, surprise. So the question was raised this week to Matt Ryan. And I'm actually going to pull up the exact quote here. The question was raised, do you think about playing next year? Does that creep into your mind at all? And Matt Ryan's answer was this. I've always tried to just handle the day that's in front of you, and particularly during the season. It's one of those things that after the season, certainly as you get older, those are always discussions that you have to have and that you go through. So Matt Ryan is under contract for the Indianapolis Colts next year. But with this rocky season that he's had, and with the Colts going up in the draft order, we don't know who's exactly is going to be under center to start the 2023 season. So, Drake, I ask you, will Matt Ryan be returning to the Colts in 2023? Let's talk about it.
You know, I'll give a respectable answer. I feel like with the performance, you have enough body of work to see that even if he has something left in the tank, it's just not with the Indianapolis Colts. It's not meshing well. It didn't mesh well with Reich. It has not meshed well with Saturday. And he's not meshing well with his teammates. Am I saying that he's not mentoring them well and that they don't respect the living crap out of the guy? Of course they do, but it's football. You have to perform on the gridiron, not off of it. And so I just don't think it's working. So I think that with them moving up, it'd be unfathomable for them to be like, hey, let's give this guy another shot and skip a potential Will Levis type of draft pick.
Right. And I think I'm right there with you. I honestly don't think Matt Ryan returns to the Colts in 2023. I think the writing has been on the wall for a little while now. And I think we'll start with his performance first of all, because if Matt Ryan was performing at a high level, he's under contract already for the next season. The Colts would obviously be bringing him back, but leads the league in turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles combined. He has 18 turnovers, and he's missed 2 games. That's just unacceptable. It's a big reason why the Colts offense has taken a step back this year. Just looking at the film, if you have followed along with my Ryan review pieces on Horseshoe Huddle, I've been kind of showing how his arm is just losing it. He looks washed. There's not nearly the velocity on his throws, not only that there was even last year, but even at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
his throws and his are just hanging up in the air. Defenses are capitalizing on that by jumping in front of the throws, by playing the receivers a lot tighter so he can't necessarily throw the ball into those tighter windows. And then because of the beating that he's taken this year from a very leaky offensive line, Matt Ryan is really, really feeling that pressure as far as before the rush even gets there. And when all that starts to creep in on you, it usually doesn't get worse, or I'm sorry, usually doesn't get better. It gets a lot worse. So I think with those factors combined, it just doesn't seem likely performance wise that the Colts should bring him back in 2023.
I'm going to throw some stuff out here at you that I found um, doing some, pre-show research. So through 13 games, and we're talking about 11 played for Matt Ryan. Not this is just 13 for the league. He is number one in interceptions with 13. He is number 29 out of 33 total quarterbacks in rating behind Carson Wentz. He is number 26 out of all of the eligible quarterbacks in yards per pass attempt, leads the NFL in fumbles with 14, and he has been sacked he's number 4 in time sacked at 35. I know the line's been leaky, but he also doesn't move. He also just like folds. He'll at the first sign. I mean, we saw it in Dallas against Dallas, and everyone saw it against the Steelers too. As soon as he sees it, sometimes he'll just take that ball and put it in his chest and just get ready for wherever this hit's going to come. So he's also trigger shy. He's not ready to pull the trigger, which is not how he used to play. So I agree 100%. He just can't move. He can't get out of there. For a bad offensive line, that's just not a good combination.
Right, absolutely. And stats, Matt, coming in here, and it's kind of echoing what you said, Drake. He said among qualifying quarterbacks, he has the lowest air yards per pass attempt, and that's 33 quarterbacks to qualify. So
Yep.
it just doesn't seem like he just has taken such a step back, whether that's on him, whether it's on the offensive line, coaching, combination of all three, which I think it is. It's just not conducive for him to go out there and be the Colts starting quarterback in 2023. JB, hello, good to see you on the show. What do you think? Should Matt Ryan return to the Colts in 2023? Let us know there.
Yeah, throw a comment in there.
And then this stats Matt brings up another interesting point. He says, I don't think he returns, but I don't think he retires. This is kind of what I was going to get to with my next point, is that yes, the Colts have him under contract for next season, and it will be a pretty big cap hit if the Colts do release him, trade him, get rid of him somehow. They will take it's either, I think it's a $12 million dead cap hit. It's at 12 or 17, one of those. Stats, Matt, you might have to look at that for me. But Jim Irsay is not a guy that's going to worry about taking a financial hit if it's going to help his team. He just isn't.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, that dead cap hit is not going to scare away Jim Irsay from moving off of Matt Ryan. It certainly didn't when Carson Wentz had to be moved off of last year. So whether he is just outright cut or whether they can find a trade partner, I think that's debatable, and I seriously doubt that does happen. But it just doesn't seem like that's going to be something that holds the Colts back from letting Ryan go.
Yeah, I go back to I wrote an article about how Jim Irsay is kind of becoming more like his dad was. He's starting to really take a lot of the reins, and he's just tired of mediocrity. And it happened started with the Andrew Luck retirement, but kind of like you said with Carson Wentz. I mean, he was on, I believe, a 2-year contract, and they were just like, yeah, no, we're good. Like, we don't care. Even if we lose out on this, we still don't care. So I just, with all the draft picks coming up,
Yeah, absolutely. So, and stats Matt here says it's be 18 million as the cap hit, save 17.2 million.
Okay.
So that's about how I thought it was. It'd be, you would save, but you really wouldn't save because of the dead cap hit. Either way, the Colts, that's not going to scare the Colts off. JB, Thanks. He's saying please no, LOL, as far as keeping Matt Ryan.
There he is.
So in here, and then as Truett Trustler says, no Ryan, at least first QB, next 2 to 3 O line help. I think you're talking about the draft. That definitely could be. We'll have
Yeah.
to see which way they go. And we'll just to kind of cap off the quarterback conversation. JB's got a question here. I know this might not be the topic of the video, but there's word of Jordan Love maybe requesting a trade out of Green Bay in 2023 if Rodgers stays. Do we take him for a second? Honestly, with Jordan Love, I don't think that's something that the Colts are interested in. I think the Colts, if what they need to do, they weren't very. I mean, there were reports that they were interested in Jordan Love at the draft. The draft, and that really necessarily wasn't true from everybody I've talked to. That was more media speak and rumors than what was actually the truth. If the Colts are picking at the top of the first round, they're going to take a quarterback. They're not going to use more draft capital to trade for a quarterback that they haven't been able to mold from the very beginning. Jordan Love, again, he's put some preseason tape out there. He's had a couple good games, but at the same time, there's a reason why Jordan Love isn't starting right now there in Green Bay. If he's not even better, doesn't give Aaron Rodgers the chance, and if the Packers aren't really willing to move off of Aaron Rodgers in favor of Jordan Love, that should tell you something. So no, I don't think that the Colts should trade for him, nor do I think they would be interested in trading for him. What do you think, Drake?
I 100% agree because right now the Packers are. I mean, they're kind of holding on even a little less, than the Colts are for playoff spots. So they still have a chance to somehow, some way get in, and so they're not. They're still not going to Jordan Love, which kind of like Andrew said, should it should show you that the coaching staff doesn't think he's ready. So he has a little bit, but the sample size simply is not enough. And in fact, if you look back and talk about Jordan Love, you'll always talk about you always hear about the Kansas City game and how he couldn't muster anything. So, I mean, until we hear something different than that, I think the Colts should pass on him.
Right. And Matt, another good point. He only has 1 year left on his rookie deal. So the Colts would immediately have to they would get 1 year for him, and then they'd have to decide, do we extend him or not? When you take a rookie quarterback in the first round, you get 5 years possibly at the least of control with that quarterback. So that's a very good point. But let's move on to maybe one of the guys that's going to be making that decision of who the Colts might draft, and that's Jeff Saturday. So Jeff Saturday comes in as the interim head coach this year after Frank Reich was fired, and he said that he would possibly be interested in being the long-term solution of the for the Colts head coaching position. And again, this kind of draws off of a question that was asked on Tuesday this week. Jeff Saturday was asked, have your thoughts changed at all about wanting to do this long term? And Jeff Saturday said, no, I'm not wavering, man. I've loved it. I've had a great time. I know I'm the most popular guy in the room right now, right? This has been fantastic. It's crazy for me because I went from being in the media to not paying any attention purposely. I'm sure not everything written about us or me is positive. I'm good with that. I knew kind of what I was signing up for, and I've loved this. I've had a great time. I love the unity in the locker room. I love the staff and working with the guys and the strategy that goes in with this. Again, this has been a lot of fun. Again, W's make things a lot more fun, but that's where we've got to get going. And then asked, would you want to coach next year? And he said, yes, I plan on interviewing as long as they give me the interview. So Jeff Saturday certainly has his sights on being the long-term head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. The question is, should he return for 2023 and beyond? Should the Colts hire him as the official and permanent head coach of the Indianapolis Colts? What say you, Drake?
Well, when you start out your first 4 games beating I mean, honestly, as he even said, terrible team, you lose to a team you had on the cusp of winning the whole game. Then you lose to a team you should have beaten, the Steelers, and then you get destroyed on national television on the biggest spotlight possible. So he's had a baptism by fire and then fallen out and then fallen right back in. I mean, he has been right in the middle of it. And hearing that quote is very reassuring if you're a Colts fan. If you've watched the actual games, though, you're probably a little less than satisfied. And they don't look much different That's probably one of the biggest things is they're not looking a whole lot different. And there were some, people you would see on Twitter going, where's Reich at? I bet Reich's somewhere laughing, and it's not the case. Frank's not, that kind of guy. But
Right.
there was a lot of people already, kind of against him. And it's like, look, as much as you don't want to admit it, he's so inexperienced. He knows the game. You're going to have to give him time. And a big part of if he comes back, he's going to be the next 4 games.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, I love Jeff Saturday. I,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he's a great man. I
Oh, yeah.
think he's got a good football mind, but I don't think he should be the head coach of this team. And here's why. So yes, the Colts are 1-4, I think, since or 1-3 since he's taken over as the head coach. Jeff Saturday wasn't going to be a miracle worker here. He wasn't going to be the guy that just turned this team around and all of a sudden made them a playoff contender. That being said, he just doesn't. And this isn't any a knock against him, but he just doesn't have the experience or the coaching acumen that I think is needed to take this team where it needs to go. And I think what's important to say that, like, to back this up, is when you listen to players talk, like Matt Ryan, like Paris Campbell, Jonathan Taylor. You hear these guys, or DeForest Buckner, the leaders in this locker room, when they're asked about how Jeff Saturday's coaching and what he's brought to this team. A lot of them say like he's brought in energy, he keeps us accountable, things like that. But they haven't necessarily talked about the things that he's changed as a coach. I mean, yeah, you can say all of those things, but there's nothing specific as a coach that really seems to be changed about this team. And like he hasn't added an offensive philosophy. We've already seen him have some issues with clock management, some issues with challenging, and all coaches are going to do that. Hell, Bill Belichick has issues with that sometimes. Andy Reid, the best coaches in the game, but at the same time, it's just those little minute things that what make a difference between a good coach and a bad coach, somebody that should be leading this team and somebody that shouldn't be. And I just don't. I think what Jeff Saturday would be better purpose for is a role in the front office, maybe team president, maybe if he wants to be a consultant again, or a talent evaluator. I think he would be very, very good at that. But as far as a head coach, day to day operations, I just don't see it. I don't think it'd be the right move for the Indianapolis Colts for not only 2023, but for the next 4 to 5 years, when this is going to be a very, very, very pivotal 4 to 5 years, when you probably have a rookie quarterback coming in and you need a coaching staff there to develop him to lead your franchise for the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, and the learning curve is so incredibly steep. The NFL, like NFL fans, will laugh at college coaches that are incredibly successful. Look at Urban Meyer. What a great example. He comes in, he can't even handle anything. Look at his coaching acumen in college, though. It's pretty impressive. It's one of the greatest of all time. Some will consider, top like 3, 4 coaches. Saturday has no acumen. Okay, now imagine being thrown into this role mid-season. The previous guy's cut out, and you're just told, "Hey, go figure it out." The owner says, kind of babbles up there at the front, like, "Oh, he's qualified." It's like, "Okay, Jim," and so you just accept it. You get a win, you get excited, but then you realize playing, especially playing the Eagles, you
Mm-hmm.
realize there's just a lot to learn. And with, like you said, a rookie quarterback, do you want your coach who has little to no coaching experience to be the guy who's learning himself, learning his staff, learning everything day to day, first off season, and you have a rookie quarterback you're looking at like, hey, go save our franchise? That just doesn't sound really great to me.
Right, right. And in my opinion, I think the Colts should be looking at guys that, I mean, yeah, bringing in a young coach is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But you
Of
need to
course.
have a coach that has a proven track record. Like say, if you want to go defensive side of the ball, D'Amico Ryans. I mean, a guy that has just taken that San Francisco 49ers defense and turned it to something just great, absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Leslie Frazier, who has ties to the Colts, he's a little bit older, but still defensive guy that's led a great group. Offensive side, Ken Dorsey, a guy that's worked with young quarterbacks. Mike Kafka from the New York Giants. just these all, you could go either way, but you want a guy that's shown that he can develop players and produce a winning, not only side of the ball, but help produce a winning team in this league. Let's take a look at the comments and see. So Stats Matt says, if Ballard is back, I see Jeff being hired. If Ballard is fired, I see him going into the front office as director of player personnel. Very well could be. Wouldn't be crazy
Yep.
over it, but his staff could be interesting. And we'll just have to see what happens here. Truitt says, I say no to Saturday. And JB, I like Jeff, but not a fan of bringing him back too. Wyatt Law, if Saturday is our head coach in 2023 and going forward, what are your thoughts on possibly bringing Jim Caldwell aboard as offensive coordinator? He did a nice job with a young Matt Stafford in Detroit. Drake, I'm going to let you start on that. What do you think the Colts, or would the Colts bring back Jim Caldwell as offensive coordinator if Jeff Saturday were the head coach?
You know, I think that'd be a nice combo, but why not Caldwell for the head coaching position?
There you go.
I mean, this is a guy who took the Lions to the best prosperity they have seen since Campbell decided to come around. MCDC, as McAfee calls him. Look, I really, really, really like Jim Caldwell. I think he knows quarterbacks. If you're going to go draft a quarterback, give him Jim Caldwell or another Jim Harbaugh. I don't think that they should go with Saturday. I think they should go with one of the Jims for sure.
Right. And I mean, Jim Caldwell is funny because he said this week he wouldn't mind getting back into coaching. His name has swirled around. I don't know if it would be with the Colts since he's already had a stint, but he's definitely a name to watch. Camden, good to see you again, man. Notice Saturday as head coach. I agree. And then Wyatt Law, again, Wyatt Law, shout out to you, man. You've listened to us from a Colts podcast days. We always appreciate you chiming in. He kind of backs up his comment. Caldwell, Bradley, and Ventrone as coordinators is a solid support group for Jeff, freeing him to focus on leadership, which is his forte. Very interesting combo. I don't know if Bradley and Ventrone would stay under Jeff Saturday. That'd be very interesting to see. I know Bubba Ventrone is an up and coming candidate, and a lot of teams have him on his radar. Truitt says Saturday, yes, to the front office. So again, we'll have to see what happens here. JB, with a rookie quarterback, it's critical that the first year needs to develop a relationship with a head coach. Being that Saturday doesn't even call plays and lacks that experience, not a fan of that idea. And then Stats Matt again, Ben Johnson with Deuce Staley. We'll have to see what happens. Ben Johnson is a name that's been very, very hot in the coaching circle. He has certainly helped turn that Lions offense into one of the best in the league, especially over the past few weeks. Seems like the Lions and Jared Goff cannot be stopped. So it's going to be a very interesting offseason. If I had to put my money on it, I would say that neither Matt Ryan nor Jeff Saturday are back in 2023. What say you, Drake?
I agree 100%. I think that the mediocrity of Ryan paired with the Colts, kind of like Stats Matt said, who knows, maybe if he was to, if Purdy didn't work out and Shanahan gives him a phone, maybe he works well with Shanahan. Who knows? But with the Colts, he's been absolutely pitiful. And Saturday you've seen enough kind of already to see that he's kind of like a deer in headlights. Granted, Irsay did sort of put him there, but do you want him taking over a rookie quarterback? No. Yeah. I personally say no.
With the Colts drafting somebody high in the first round to be their future at quarterback, this coaching hire is very, very important. Very, very important. So, but hey, I mean, we are still in 2022, so we should probably talk about 2022.
We still got some games, don't we?
And the Colts have a game in 2-3 days now. So the Indianapolis Colts are going to be traveling up north to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Colts are 4-point underdogs heading up there to Minnesota. Minnesota is coming off of a huge loss to the Detroit Lions, and they've started to falter a little bit. We've seen in recent weeks that Minnesota hasn't been playing at their top game. They got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys. They let the Detroit Lions put a lot of points on them, so they're a little bit vulnerable but they also are playing for the NFC North title. If they win this weekend against the Colts, they clinch the division. So let's dive in. Let's see what's going on about this here. Drake, this Colts offense against this Minnesota defense. And as Stats Matt said at the very beginning of the episode, let's bring it back up here. If Ryan looks as bad this week as he did against the Cowboys, bench him. Minnesota is the worst pass defense in the league. And he's right. Minnesota Vikings ranked 32nd in total defense, 32nd against the pass, 16th against the run. Drake, how do you see the Colts offense attacking this struggling Minnesota Vikings defense this weekend?
I'm going to go back to when we talked about the Cowboys game. You mentioned that the offensive line really wasn't doing too bad. At times Matt Ryan just was off. You got to get. I'll say this right here, right here. This you got Jonathan Taylor. You have to always have this in mind. But Ryan needs to be better. He just needs to hit his receivers. He needs to find the guys out there because they're running routes. And like you said, if you look at the tape, you can see that he just wasn't throwing the ball. So you got to run the ball. You got to get Taylor the football. But Ryan's got to be better. And also, Raymond and Smith are going to need to stop Zadarius Smith and Daniil Hunter combined total of 16.5 sacks. And they almost each have about, 8 to split it. So I think that those are huge factors in, the Colts moving the football at all.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think this game is going to be big for the Colts to get Matt Ryan back on track. It's really if Matt I agree with Stats Matt. If Matt Ryan cannot get back on track against such a porous pass defense that the Minnesota Vikings have, I mean, it's only going to get tougher from here. I mean, the New York Giants are going to be blitzing like crazy against the Colts. The Chargers, we saw what they did to Tua Tagovailoa this week. And then the Houston Texans, which, I mean, they almost beat the Dallas Cowboys last weekend. And the Colts certainly cannot say that they almost beat the Dallas Cowboys. So, yeah, I mean, everything is there for Matt Ryan. I think that the Colts need to, if they did some self-scouting over this bye week, they noticed that the offense is becoming predictable. Defenses know that, and defenses know that this quick passing game is coming. So they're crowding the line of scrimmage, bringing their safeties down. And what did we see the Colts have success with against the Cowboys? When they went over the top, passes to Alec Pierce, passes to Ashton Dulin, and Alec Pierce again on the touchdown. I know Matt Ryan's arm isn't the greatest, but at the same time, if he can't make those throws and really stretch the defense, then it's time to make that change and put a Nick Foles in there who still has a live arm, or try Sam Ellinger out, who doesn't have the greatest arm, but it can't be any worse than Matt Ryan's at this point. The offense can't be this stagnant. I mean, I understand running the ball, but when you're going up against a 32nd ranked pass defense, this is the time where you try to get your struggling quarterback, who you're bound and determined to stick with, it seems like, you got to try to help him out. Get these big wide receivers on the outside, Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce, one-on-one. Go up and throw up these high balls for them to go and pinpoint. And try to make the defense respect the deep ball, so you have more room to allow Jonathan Taylor to run and get these short crossers so there's more space in this defense. The Colts just have to stop with these 5 to 8 yard dink and dunk passes out of Matt Ryan.
Well, yeah, that's something that, we had discussed, is that you've got a rookie who is, playing out of his mind, and a lot of times it's with deep passes. And you have another freakish athlete in Michael Pittman Jr. who just isn't getting that attention. You also have a burner in Paris Campbell, who was originally drafted to be a deep threat. And Ryan has not been able to do a good enough job of getting the ball down the field. So they've used him more in kind of, your slot role. But absolutely, and I'll change my game plan. I think that kind of what you said needs to be, is more of what I should have said. They need to reverse it. They should open up the run game with the pass game. Try to get Jonathan Taylor maybe a little bit more space and get those linebackers off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll answer this quarterback question real quick. Kind of Wyatt Law says, is starting Ryan at quarterback the smartest decision? And Truitt kind of echoes that. Why not put Ellinger back in? And I think they're valid questions. If you saw my article of some of the changes that needed to be made post bye week, go check that out on Horseshoe Huddle. One of them was bench Matt Ryan, and my
Yep.
instead of saying and being in favor of Nick Foles coming in, I would put Sam Ellinger back in there because that gives you 4 more games for Sam Ellinger to go out there and prove what he's got. You get 6 games of an evaluation heading into this offseason to decide if you want to put much more into Sam Ellinger, whether he can be a backup option for you or not. So I think that's what the Colts should do. But obviously Jeff Saturday sticking with Matt Ryan thinks that Matt Ryan gives them the best chance to win. We also need to remember what Jeff Saturday said. He's trying to coach for the long term. So he's going to try to do whatever he can to win these last 4 games and show that he can be the Colts coach of the future. Stats Matt said Vikings allow the third most air yards. If Ryan has more in the arm than we think, now is the time to prove it. You're 100% correct there.
Nice.
So Drake, let's talk about the defense now. Defense, they've got a test, especially against the Minnesota Vikings passing game. While the Minnesota is only 17th in total offense, they're 8th in passing, 27th against the run. So can the Colts slow down Kirk Cousins, and more importantly, can they slow down Justin Jefferson, who looks practically unguardable right now?
Speaking of articles, I also wrote one on the most exciting players the Colts will be finishing the season against. And I simply said that Justin Jefferson has destroyed everyone that has
Mm-hmm.
stepped in his path except the Lions, who were able to shell coverage and keep him pretty much away. And I mean, look at these numbers: 99 catches, second in the NFL; 1,500 receiving yards, number one in the NFL; 142 targets, number one in the NFL; 15.2 yards per catch, 13th, but they're accounting for people with like 10 or more catches. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So really the only other guy that's notable in front of him is Jalen Waddle. So I mean, this is a terrifying human being that they are going against. And then they have Adam Thielen. Now you've got newly acquired tight end TJ Hawkinson. You got to force Kirk Cousins, though, to get uncomfortable because, like Matt Ryan, I know he's probably faster. He can't move that well. You pressure him, he reacts like every other quarterback does.
Right, and I mean the Lions certainly kept Justin Jefferson out of the end zone, but I think Jefferson broke
Oh,
the
was it the wrong
franchise
wrong
record.
game?
Yeah, I think Jefferson broke the Vikings franchise record last game for receiving yards. He had 220 or 233 yards receiving. Yeah, he kept them out of the end zone, but Jefferson ran right up and down the field on those guys. So, but you make a very valid point that he has just been dominating the league
Yeah.
this year.
Oh yeah.
Nobody has really been able to stop him, and I don't think the Colts are going to be one of those teams that really can stop him. Yes, you have Stephon Gilmore, who I think is playing at a Pro Bowl level. Isaiah Rodgers, I think, can give him some fits. Kenny Moore doesn't look like he's going to play again this week, but man, I don't think it would have made a difference even because Justin Jefferson is just that good. So I think you're spot on though. Kirk Cousins, again, a guy that stands in the pocket, likes to be kept clean, and when that pressure starts to close in on him, he doesn't do that well. And when you have a unique Ngakwe and a Quiddy Pay, both are healthy, both haven't been on the injury report all week. DeForest Buckner in there, it's going to be so crucial to get after Kirk Cousins, make him uncomfortable there in the pocket, so he doesn't have the ability to sit back there all day in the pocket, wait for Jefferson to get open on down the middle or on a corner route, and then just place it right into his hands because Kirk Cousins is a pretty accurate quarterback with the football, especially when given time. He can pick apart your defense. Getting on Kirk Cousins, making sure he doesn't have the time to find a Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen and TJ Hawkinson, like you brought up. When he doesn't have that time, that's when you can get to Kirk Cousins and make this Vikings offense really start to struggle.
Well, and we everybody's heard about Justin Jefferson. I mean, heck, I've got the guy in fantasy. Trust me, it's a very difficult weekend that I'm going into. Okay, but you also forget about we all talk about Justin Jefferson, forget about Dalvin Cook. I mean, you can't
Mhm.
let him start the game and then allow play action to ensue. And then you've got Jefferson at 200 plus yards by the fourth quarter. So there's so many ways that this team can hurt you, but it all starts with the quarterback. So if you can make him uncomfortable, you could have yourself a day.
Vikings have a lot of weapons. They really do. But it all starts with the quarterback and Kirk Cousins. If you can disrupt him, it's going to be hard to get it out to those weapons. And as Truitt said, I thought Cousins was done till Jefferson. I think a lot of people did, but
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins consistently has over 4,000 yards, and he usually has about between 27 and 33 touchdowns. Seems like every year. So he produces. So, but before we get to our game predictions, let's give a bold prediction. Drake, give me some of your bold predictions for this game on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern.
So for the Colts, the defense is going to have 2 or more turnovers. I think they're going to come by the way of either a fumble from Cousins, a sack fumble, or interceptions. But I do think the Colts are going to allow 4+ sacks. And the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, I think, you mentioned something. I think he's going to have less than 70 receiving yards because I think so much unbridled attention is going to be put on him. But on the other end, I think Adam Thielen, who's always the reliable Wily veteran, is going to have over that.
Okay. I think for my bold prediction, I've just got one, and I'm going to go on the Colts side. I think Michael Pittman Jr. doubles his season total in touchdowns this week. I think Michael Pittman Jr. scores 2 touchdowns. I think the Colts try to open it up through the air, and I think with these young cornerbacks that have struggled for the Vikings, you let your number one receiver be your number one receiver. And I think we could see Michael Pittman have a big day on Sunday. It doesn't necessarily lead to a win. I'm not sure. But, I mean, hey, I do think that they need to get the ball to Michael Pittman more often. And for the love of God, let your 6'4" wide receiver get some deep shots. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he can jump out of the building. Him and Alec Pierce both. Get him some deep shots and let him go to work. So we'll see. We'll see what the Colts do. I think if they do that, they have a better chance to win. But again, we'll have to see. So, all right, Drake, game prediction. Colts at Vikings, 1 o'clock Saturday. Go. How do you see this one ending up?
Mine is dismal just because there's been so much dismal football. I think it's going to be 24-10 Vikings, only because I think the Colts are going to have several stops on defense. They also did against Dallas and allowed 33 points because they couldn't stop turning the ball over. I don't think Matt Ryan is going to change much against 2 very aggressive pass rushers. He just doesn't move like he used to. I got him winning by 14.
Okay. Did you say 24-10 is your score?
Yeah, like I said, it's a little dismal, but like you said, until they score 20 or more points, I just don't think they're going to do it.
So Stats Matt says 27-24 Vikings. He also says that Pierce breaks 100 yards. That'd be a new career high for him. Cool. Wyatt Law says Jelani Woods finally gets the prime tight end role. I love that. I seriously would love Jelani Woods getting more playing time. I'm going to go a little bit closer. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think because this Vikings defense isn't that great. So I do think the Colts have a better chance to respond. But at the end of the day, the turnovers, and until they can prove me wrong, I think there's going to be a costly turnover at the end. Like you said, whether it's Zadarius Smith or Danielle Hunter, I have a feeling that they're going to get a sack on one of these final drives. Matt Ryan's going to fumble, and that's going to be game. So I'm going to go I think the Colts cover. I'm going to go 23-20 Vikings. So I think the Colts cover. The under, I think, is at 48. So the under is going to hit again Saturday, 1 o'clock game. Maybe they're not exactly used to having that day off, but we'll have to see. JB says the Colts scoring above 20 is a miracle. We will mark that day on the calendar and celebrate it as a holiday. My guy, you get it. You get it. Wyatt Law says Ryan gets benched at halftime. Well, that could be huge. That could be huge. Camden says 20-27. We can't score more than 20 points in a game. Again, a lot of these people, it seems like, have been listening to our show because we've been saying that for a while now. But hey, we're gonna get out of here. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to the Horseshoe Huddle podcast. If you haven't already, please go follow us on all the things, like on Facebook. Go follow at Colts on FN on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and please hit the bell. We've been gaining subscribers. We've been gaining views on our shows. We love hanging out with you guys. The chat was absolutely awesome tonight. Shout out to Stats Matt, Wyatt Law, Truitt, JB. Who are some of the others that I missed? But all of you guys have been fantastic, and we hope you come back again next week on Monday, where we break down and give our gut reactions to the Colts-Vikings game. Do the Colts upset the Vikings? We'll have to see. But go follow Drake at DWalsterDrake on Twitter. I'm at Andrew Moore NFL. And we will see you guys on Monday.